Due to the following CBS School Break special, Magnum PI will not be seen today. It will be broadcast tomorrow in the regular time period.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for another Word Balloon live and after school special, if you will. John Suntress here. Really happy to welcome my buddy, who we've been friends for a really long time, and I'm always happy to have him back on Word Balloon because I know it's always going to be a fun conversation. It's Sal Abbinanti, and Sal is here to talk about. It's right behind him, right there.
Yes,
here for Atomika. God is Red. Welcome back, Sal.
John. Thanks for having me, man. I always appreciate it. I never take it for granted.
Neither do I, man. I'm always I'm always excited because I know our conversation's gonna go in a million different directions, but really excited for you to bring back God is Red in this kind of deluxe edition. As I remember originally, Sal, wasn't it through Speakeasy, that kind of fly-by-night company?
Yeah. I was getting it going, and Speakeasy was this publisher out of Toronto or out of Canada, and I knew I was in trouble when they spelled my name in the ad, twice wrong. And it's okay, you spelled my name wrong, but they did it twice. So it was a nice start. They were good guys. It just didn't work out, and then I wound up just deciding to take it in and publish it on my own. And Mercury's basically was just started on my mother's kitchen table. So
I love that stuff, man. No, and again, this is 20 years ago when you first put God is Red out, right?
yeah, I was still bartending. I mean, I was working with that. I started working with Alex Ross, and then I decided, look, I wasn't gonna get into comics. They just were not gonna hire me, John. My stuff was just not the house style they were looking for at DC or Marvel. So I tried, I every which way, and then you just finally realize, hey, look, if you're gonna do it, you better just do it. I didn't necessarily want to be an independent publisher, but once you jump in, you realize, okay, there's a learning curve, and it's not going to be easy because you got to get out there and kick the bushes, because comic stores, they're not necessarily all that hot on picking up a lot of new indie titles. So, but I was pretty fortunate. They gave it a shot. Of course, having Alex Ross do the first cover didn't hurt, but I was realistic going into it that I needed some kind of a marketing hook. And so I got Glenn Fabry and Alex and Tim Bradstreet and David Mack and a lot of great guys to contribute covers. So
who's this one?
that's Arthur Sudan. And it was that was a later one. I wanted it a little bit earlier on, but I think he was busy, so it didn't make as a cover. We wound up using it as an alternate cover. But
Okay.
yeah.
How about this? How about this one, Sal?
Oh, that's Glenn. That's Glenn Fabry.
Fabry.
Glenn was doing, at the time, all those great Hellraiser Preacher covers, and I was fortunate enough to meet him at a show. And Glenn that's probably my favorite cover. Right there, the number 2. I wanted him Atomika crucified on a hammer and sickle, and then that was Glenn.
What kind of art direction did you give these guys to make these covers?
You don't want to art direct them too much. You really can't tell Alex or Bill Sienkiewicz or any of these guys, hey, this is what I want. Because to me, it was like, look, these guys are pros. They know what to do. And they're going to bring something to the table that you might not have ordinarily thought of. So I just kind of laid out what I want. Or, this is the character. This is the setting. Do something industrial. Do something avant-garde. As long as it doesn't look necessarily all that mainstream, you give them a little direction and then you just learn to get out of the way.
Understood. Look what Wayne says from Canada, our buddy. He owns Buzz's cover to Atomika. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah. Buzz did a great, Pravada was kind of the female lead in it, or one of the female leads. She was kind of the Soviet Wonder Woman type character. And Buzz did an alternate cover for number 4, which was fantastic. Michael Turner and Buzz were the 2 covers for number 4.
Okay.
Buzz cool. And Buzz inked the book, by the way. Buzz is a magnificent inker.
Wow.
When I started the book, I just realized, hey, look, I just wanted it to look professional, John. I wanted it to look like I didn't, just roll out of Senn High School and put a book together. So I had no delusions about inking, and Buzz was magnificent with his feathering and his cross hatching. So we were pretty tight at the time, doing a lot of shows. So I approached him and he was like, sure. And we went from there, and it's gave it a very slick, very finished product, which was, it made my stuff look way more professional than it was at the time.
Well, Sal, I understand what you're saying, where that your style isn't a house DC or Marvel style, but here I've got this image of the State's like your Justice League, basically, right?
Yeah, Alex kind of said, hey, where's the Justice League? And I said, oh, hey, cool idea. That was Alex's idea, to say, hey, you should kind of throw in some metaphors for American characters. And so every one of those is kind of Pravada and the different ones. There's the different takes on who Batman is and who's the Iron Man, was the Iron Curtain, and so it was that type of thing that I played around with a little bit. But that was later in the book when I kind of felt that I had my chops going a little bit.
Okay. Well, regardless, what I love about this is this was made in, like, it was conceived, as it says in the foreword to the volume, around 1999. Tell me about your collaborator that helped you write this thing.
Andrew Dabb. Andrew was he just kind of became friends at shows. He was working. He was doing some Vertigo work. He was doing really, he was getting some traction going in comics, but I don't think he kind of felt that it was going in necessarily setting the world on fire, because editors in those days could be real assholes if they wanted to be to you if you were a freelancer. So Andrew kind of had the same. Well, he was at least working. I was just getting the door slammed in my face flat. And so we became friends at a show, and I kind of pitched him the idea. We'd done a few proposals at Marvel. We did a Luke Cage proposal and a Living Mummy and a whole bunch of other proposals that and a Swamp Thing, and forget it. They just were not gonna, And I showed him the art for Atomika, and he said, okay, let's kind of go this way. So we did it old school. We did it the Kirby Stan Lee style, where I drew the whole book, and then I just kind of sent Andrew Xeroxes, and he wrote the book off of my Xeroxes of the finished art. So he gives it this, the writing in it, all bullshit aside, is fantastic. Andrew gave Atomika a whole different dimension of kind of a poetry, kind of a very haunting kind of poetry that I didn't foreseeing the plot. I mean, we plotted the book together, but the writing is all Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's explain to people again. This is when you guys conceived it. It's 1999. The fall of the Soviet Union had already happened, although we see
Yeah.
it kind of on the rise again with
Yeah.
Putin and everything. But
They're not going anywhere. I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm
It's not political. It's not religious. Atomica was just kind of born of the idea that technology has become our religion. Technology in the 21st century. Technology we were told was going to solve all our problems, and now it's our cell phones and our computers in a sense. So he basically came about from my love of Kirby, of wanting to, and growing up in the 70s, the Soviet Union was always the evil empire. So my love of Kirby, my love of John Buscema doing Thor, and Thor was the first comic that I read as a kid. And so when I decided to put out my own book, do something that's near and dear to your heart. So, and I was really, really angry and pissed at the industry as a whole, John, when I did Atomica, because they wouldn't be I wasn't invited to their party. They wouldn't let me into their party. So I said, all right, well then I'll do it myself.
And I'm glad you did. And also, again, this is great because it's funny thinking now that the creator-owned market is as vital as it is.
Yeah.
You were on that first vanguard of that post-image, but like in that Image Volume 2,
sure.
where guys like Bendis and Oming are doing powers,
sure,
and everybody else is kind of trying to do their thing.
right.
And yeah, man, I mean, also you had a great deal, and I thought it was very wise back in the day. You were advertising Mercury Comics and Atomica on CBR.
Yeah.
And you cut this great deal in terms of every day you go to CBR for your news. There's a beautiful banner of Alex's version of Atomica and stuff. I think that was brilliant.
Well, thank you. I realized that I think that's the mistake a lot of indie publishers made back in the day, was that you focus so much on getting the book done that you forget that it's a business, and that if you don't get the comic stores to pick it up, which is very hard, which is why I put my ego aside and asked mainstream guys to do covers, because I knew that, look, when you put your ad in preview as an indie publisher, a lot of comic stores, like I think only 30% at the time even bother to look at independent comics, because it just don't sell. Diamond got rid of their return policy in those days. So if they bought an indie book and it didn't sell, they had to eat it.
Yep.
So I thought, hey, look, if I put an Alex Ross cover, or a Bill Sienkiewicz, or a Glenn Fabry, or a Michael Turner, or a David Mack, or a Tim Bradstreet on the cover, and they pick it up just for that cover, but it gets them to kind of open it up and look at my art, I can live with that, because I just wanted to get in the door. I was trying to get my foot in the door. And so I realized, okay, I got to market this in a way that's just going to give store owners a reason to go, okay, I'll buy it. I'll pick it up, at least, if they don't like the book. If they didn't like it, I could live with it. But just getting them to pick the damn thing up was the problem.
Well, this is an omnibus version of it was 12 issues, right?
Yeah, I wanted to go old school. Back when I originally published it, everybody was going the trade route. Trades were becoming really popular, kind of like streaming today. Everybody wants to stream. Nobody wants the individual. But I was old school, so I wanted to do individual issues. And I did 12 individual issues. And I did 2 trades. But, I was starting to have problems with production and getting the book out and getting it picked up on time. So it came out very infrequent. And so the 2 trades came out kind of staggered, where the established audience, by the time I got around to the second one, John, I had already missed a boat. So I felt that there was a momentum there. When you put a book out, you really need to have it come out and really come out, because if you're not ready for the next issue, the fan base doesn't give a shit about your problems. If a book is late, it's late. And Atomica wasn't late, but it was off for sure, because I left Speakeasy and I decided to publish it myself. And then, I had to set up my own situation with Diamond and come out of nowhere with Mercury. Whereas, with Speakeasy, we were doing pretty well. And then it came out of right field. So,
okay.
This is an omnibus. This is actually what I wanted to do, which was to do it where it's all together. This is over 300 pages of all the covers and all 12 issues. and kind of a great background in it of all the characters used in it out of Russian mythology, and that it was published in Eastern Europe.
How did it do?
They did an amazing job with it, and so I got the idea when things started to come around to go, man, I'd really like to do it in English here in the States. I don't know if anybody would care. That was pre-COVID, and then after COVID or during COVID, I finished up The Hostage, through Kickstarter, and then I thought, hey, why not? Let me put out Atomika. I have all the files. I have all these great covers and great images by a lot of guys that are unfortunately not even around anymore, John. I mean, Ernie Chan and Gene Colan and Michael Turner, but I thought a lot of these pieces were never seen. A lot of these great covers and back covers that these guys did for me, like Darwin Cook did a piece for me, which didn't make the cut. And it's in the book.
Wow. Exactly, man.
Yeah.
75 new pages of art that are not seen in the original 12-issue run or the 2 trades. Sal, can I show the video?
Absolutely.
Do you mind if I show the video?
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right.
Sure.
Everybody, here's the Kickstarter page. Stand by. Coming up in a second. There it is. So let's watch Sal's video that he had made here. Can they hear it, Sal?
Yeah.
Look at that.
My name's Sal Abbinanti. I'm the artist and creator of Atomika and The Hostage. Atomika is the modern 20th century god of the Soviet Union, because a god is only as strong as his worship. And mythological gods of Russia are now dying. So they want their power back, and the only way they can achieve that is by eliminating Atomika. The 12-issue story arc is basically Atomika's journey through the different regions of the Soviet Union, eliminating the mythological gods of Russia. Growing up in the 70s, I was a huge Jack Kirby fan. I kind of filtered my love for Jack Kirby through the idea of the Soviet Union being this evil
and I did 2 separate trades.
But this is everything. This is the big Megillah. This is the Atomika Love Fest. All the back covers, all the pinups, the first 12 issues.
It's everything, all the mistakes I made
and are rectified with it.
It's a labor of love for mine.
So to see it in this omnibus form
to
and
finally check this off and put it to bed, so to speak,
is very rewarding.
For reward, we felt it was important always to have the
entire omnibus package, the entire 12 issues, all the covers,
we also felt that a lot of these covers and a lot of these back covers deserved kind of their own treatment. So that's why we want to offer a lithograph package. We're doing a series of Atomika bookmarks with some of the great art that's in the book from all these different artists. This is my second
Kickstarter. My first was
The Hostage.
I'm an independent publisher. I'm an indie comic publisher. That's all I can do. That's the only thing that I know. I think you're really going to enjoy
what you get and what you see.
I'm hoping you give it a shot.
Outstanding, Sal.
Thank you.
Very exciting, well-made video. I love what you're doing, man, and I'm really excited. And hey, man, rather than wait for an opportunity, you made your own opportunity. And this is a conversation you and I have had off the record for years. And we're about the same age. And it's like, hey, fine. If they don't want what you're selling, sell it yourself. And thank God it's working for both of us. And I'm really excited for you. And I see you've met your initial goal, and now you're on the stretch goals already, and you got plenty of time in the campaign to add more things. So I honestly, congratulations. And
thank you.
But you're not done. I mean, we really want support for this thing. And
there's a lot we were offering. I mean, because I don't, there's nothing I could do with this stuff after this, John. We got a lot of great stuff. We got, Bill Sienkiewicz prints and Alex Ross prints and Darwin Cook and Michael Turner and Tim Bradstreet and all these freebies and goals and giveaways, which I did with The Hostage, which I didn't realize the fan base loves so much. But we're doing all that again with this. And then I have so much stuff that was never used when the book kind of came to an end, that I thought this was long gone. So there's a lot of stuff that we want to do in terms of stretch goals and giveaways with the Kickstarter package. And we know it's a weird time of the year because, Black Friday's coming and it's Thanksgiving and it's the holiday season and people are kind of burnt out. And but this is something that if you're into indie comics and you're into this type of stuff, which, is near and dear to my heart, this is a great package. This is a lot of stuff. And this is a really cool book that was a labor of love and a lot of great creators. I was fortunate enough to get a lot of great creators contribute to this. So it kind of comes at you from a lot of different angles. And I'm proud of it, which is why I wanted to put it out. And I don't know if I'll ever approach Atomika again after this. Originally there was going to be an annual I was going to do after it. But it just never kind of came together. Andrew went on to be the showrunner for Supernatural in Hollywood, so he's doing really, really well as a writer and as a Hollywood guy. And then I kind of moved on to do other stuff. But it's Kickstarter it's been really good to me, and it's a great way for an indie publisher to kind of have this one-on-one with the fan base and with the comic book industry as a whole. Whereas the old way, you went through Diamond, John, and you just sat back and waited for your orders to come in. You didn't get any feedback. You didn't get any, hey, this sucks, or hey, we love it, or whatever, but Kickstarter's kind of like, being at a Foghat concert at the Aragon. I mean, if it sucks, they'll start throwing shit at you, and there's times at 2 a.m. when you get these emails and people are complaining about stuff. But hey, it's kind of like being at the cons again. When I used to do Artist Alley with Atomika, you get that where they're like, "Oh, you're a communist," or "Oh, and it's not religious and it's not political. It's just, I always thought that the Soviet Union or Russia would be a cool setting for a book. Like, I was a big New Gods fan growing up.
Yeah.
So to me, it was just, it was New Gods. It was Kirby. It was, again, just a cool setting for a book.
Who did this one?
That's Darwin.
I figured that was Darwin. Yeah.
We were both doing stuff at Speakeasy at the time.
I remember.
And he delivered that to me after the book was finished. So I couldn't, I didn't have anywhere to publish it. So I was grateful for it, but, I couldn't use the thing.
You see, I met Darwin before I met you, and Darwin was the first guy to kind of be the shit detector on Speakeasy and go, yeah, something's wrong over there. And I'm like, okay, I was brand new.
It didn't come together well. They were, like I said, when they spell your name wrong, John, a couple of times, and they're too lazy to look it up in the ad, and I've been called Abernathy and Abercrombie and all Alianti, all those things, but that's okay.
Sal Abbinanti. You're the last
Abercrombie. Yeah, it's kind of like being at the DMV, where they call out Abernathy or Abbinanti. You get, that's okay, but to miss a couple of letters in the ad of the book of the publisher you're working for, it's like, guys, you could have just asked or you could have looked it up. So I knew I was in trouble.
I have no concept of what you're talking about, Sal. Everything has been so great with Word Balloon.
Right. That's
it happened to me a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, you get used to it. You get kind of like, especially as an indie publisher, you're usually just surprised if they got a table for you at all. Or you set up next to somebody, they put you next to the lady with the ye old, the selling swords, the Renaissance.
I was going to say selling weapons, exactly.
Selling weapons, yeah. The chainmail, the 300 lady with the chainmail, 300-pound lady with the chainmail, breastfeeding her kid next to me. I'm used to setting up to that.
So true. True. Hey, how come you got a patch on your eye, lady? Well, it's a long story. How come you're missing a limb? And you're selling swords.
That's a true story. At Toronto one year, they had me next to ye old whatever, and this she weighed, she was 600 pounds and she was wearing chainmail, and it's not a pretty sight. And she was breastfeeding her kid while she was standing there next to me, and I was just kind of like, you gotta breastfeed, like out in public, and she got all mad at me. She goes, "Oh, it's a natural thing. It's so beautiful and this and that." And I said, "Yeah, well, there's a lot of natural things. Doesn't mean I do it in public. I mean, whacking off is natural. I don't do it in front of everybody, I mean, so she got all pissed off. So I was, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Again, let's now here, man. Seriously, let's look at your art. You shit on your art all the time, and that's ridiculous. Look at those faces. And that's what I loved about the video too. And what I love about the hostage so much, that your perspective on people, the innocent that are in your stories and stuff. And I just think it's really, it's one of a kind, Sal.
Well,
I
thank
love your art. I recognize why maybe a DC or a Marvel would be like, yeah, it's a little too weird for us or whatever.
It's okay. I mean, look,
Whatever.
I wanted to go in the front door. There was a template back then, John, of how you got into comics. The comic industry, or how to put a book out by yourself, didn't really exist. There was no template before Image, or before a lot of the indie publishers that had come along. Because if you wanted to put a book out in the 90s, you went to a printer, you needed to have 100,000 copies, or they wouldn't even take your order. And it had to be full color. I mean, and it cost a lot of money. When people ask me now, hey, how do I get in the comic industry as a writer or an editor or an art? I go, guys, I'm not the guy to ask, because I never got in. But I can tell you this: if you want to be a writer or an artist or whatever you're looking to do, the industry needs indie publishers way more than ever now.
Yeah.
Because Marvel and DC have a house style that they're looking for. And if you're trying to get in the business, you're competing with professionals, guys that have been in the business a long time. If you want to be a cover artist at Marvel, you're competing with Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz and guys that have been in the game for a long time.
Sure.
But it's not to stop you from doing it yourself, John. You can make 50 copies. You can make 100 copies. Now, you're not going to be Chap Yap the first day. You're not going to be, Jack Kirby the first day. Your stuff's going to suck. And your first couple of books are going to suck. But trust me, it'll get better. Or you'll be done. I mean,
yes.
I've told this to people a million times. The comic industry is like running off and joining the circus, man. The circus doesn't need you. You need the circus.
Amen.
So you either got to just say, hey, I got to do this, and I'll figure out a way. And I wanted to draw Luke Cage, and I wanted to draw Devil Dinosaur, but they were just like, what are you, crazy? That was, your work is too disturbing,
Interesting.
The guys at Vertigo told me, yeah. So I was just like, all right, well, look, you're either going to wilt and go home, or you're just going to say, hey, next, move on. Rejection is a strong part of it, and rejection is good. It pisses you off. It should piss you off. It's the Mike Tyson thing, where everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And getting punched in the face either pisses you off and gets you motivated to say, all right, well, I'm not going to take this. Or you just, you go and sell, storm windows,
Sure.
Well, or Leaf Guard, the guy that sells Leaf Guard, be that guy, I was bartending, and I got sick of cutting lines, and I bartended forever. And when you reach a certain age, everybody keeps getting younger and you keep getting older. And I'm like, look, I'm just going to put it out myself. And Atomika, when it came out, it did well, but I wasn't able to retire, John. I mean, I wasn't Dan Aykroyd at the end of Trading Places, where I'm on a yacht, with a sweater on going, looking good, Billy Ray. That wasn't me. I was still at the bar. I was still, working with Alex and Bill,
But you had to get your stuff out. I mean, that's the great thing, man. And I get that with the podcast. I truly, and I've said this a million times.
Yes.
I feel a kinship with independent creators, because I'm doing the same thing with audio and video. And that's why it's like, no, I get the frustration. I just had a disappointment. I went for a job with a major network to do podcasting for them.
Sure.
They said, no, thanks. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
Word Balloon continues. And I do this talk show that I've wanted to do my whole life. And if I can do it on a real traditional platform, I'll do it.
Right.
And, if not, then,
but
fine.
But John, it's also, sometimes, I don't think sometimes, I think the level you're at and where you're at is important, where in your growth of where you're going to go. So everybody wants to go in the front door and set the world on fire. Well, that doesn't always happen overnight, and it usually doesn't happen overnight. But at the end of the day, continuing to put your work out and continuing to kind of cultivate your identity and have that creative outlet is what's vital as an artist. Because as an artist, you don't really, I mean, to me, an artist is a writer, a dancer, a creative person, an actor. It's all, to me, it's all the same. It's kind of like Michelangelo, his symbol was the 3 circles, which is all the arts kind of combined. And it's all the same creative flow. I mean, what you do is exactly the same as what I do, because there's that creative outlet of knowing how to keep things moving, how to keep it interesting, how to know when somebody's full of shit and move on. I mean, there's a talent in that. But, it's important to have that flow and not let some asshole. My God, if I had guys, most of the guys, I mean, I would say 99% of the editors that told me I shouldn't be an artist, they're not even in the comic industry anymore. They're selling shoes, or they're on Canal Street in New York, working, pushing egg rolls or swag bags or something.
Oh yeah.
So you gotta decide, hey, look, am I gonna let this one idiot, just derail me? And if he is, then you really weren't meant to do this. I mean, you don't really have a choice, John, doing what you do. It's kind of like you were bit by a vampire. You have to do what you do.
You're right.
I know I do. I mean, I mean, what else am I going to do? I mean, it's like, it's one of those things where I don't really know what else to do. I mean, other than this is what I do. This is what I've always wanted to do. Now, it's not always going to be easy. You're going to have your rubs. I mean, look, I work with Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz. Okay. That's like Nosferatu and Galactus, in terms of the comic industry. If anybody has a right to go, oh my God, look at what they, the options they have, and look at what they do, and then look what I do. It's okay. It inspires you to see that that's who they are, and I'm who I am, and what they do is not the same as what I do. And it's like, it's important to cultivate your own identity and to keep moving forward. It's, you're like the wildebeest on the Serengeti, John. If you stop running, you just die.
Well, it's like Rocky. I really, and it's so weird that I quote this speech all the time. And in fact, they even made a video game commercial about it when in Rocky Balboa, when Stallone is talking to his kid. And he's like, if you let it, life will put you down to your knees.
Oh, it absolutely will.
You got to get up. You got to get up, and you got to keep moving forward. And he finally even just exasperated, just because that's how winning is done. You want
to see life, sum total of life, is watch that National Geographic special on the wildebeest on the Serengeti. And they got the lions over here and the alligators over here and the famine and the heat, and they're crushing each other, running across the river. But what do? They just keep running. They look at the acid of the bull in front of them, and they just keep running. Because if they stop, they're dead. So, it's like, yeah, you could stop and lie down. You have every reason to stop and lie down and go, oh, God, the industry is so tough. It sucks, and they're never going to let me in. But, well, then do your own thing, man. Build your own airplane.
Yeah, damn straight.
It's like, put out your own record. And then you also learn from doing your own shit, because now you got to put your money where your mouth is. When you got to decide, hey man, this is my money, this is my cover, you learn a lot of the bullshit when you do it yourself. Whereas when you're working for somebody else, it's like you don't really have anybody else to blame. But like with you, look at you, you're like the Charlie Rose of comics.
Without the scandal, but yes, thank you.
Yeah, you've got this show that look, and it's like nowadays you see how it is. Everybody's got podcasts, but everybody also tries to put out Coca-Cola, but there's room for Yum Yum and there's room for Mr. Pibb, but there's really only one Coke. There's room.
No, I appreciate that.
For Shasta. I don't want to drink Shasta anymore. Or KO. I don't want to drink that shit.
I don't know if it pops up in your Instagram feed, but this Oli Pop is like this. I tried it the other day, and I will say the root beer is okay. Yeah. Some of the fruit flavors are okay. Their cola is just horrible. It doesn't taste like cola, and it's sad because I don't know what they use to sweeten it, but It's not good. And here's an endorsement for Good Pop, everybody. And that Spindrift. Here, I gotta turn it around.
Yeah,
Spindrift is amazing.
I switched over. I was never a pop guy. I was always a vodka or a seltzer guy.
Sure.
Because growing up, we never had pop in my house because I had a lot of brothers and sisters, and if you weren't there in the first 5 minutes when my mom came from Jewel, there was no pop. There was no pop in the house, and my mom was not going to buy anymore. And my dad would bring home RC.
I liked RC.
RC.
I was an RC guy. It was all right.
He'd bring home RC and a bag of Funyuns. That was usually
Funyuns. Yeah. I love Funyuns.
Or pork rinds. He'd bring home pork rinds. Italians are big on
pork rinds. Hey, Buzz is watching. Speakeasy didn't just misspell Sal's name. They forgot to add God is Red on the cover, the title of the fucking comic. Yeah, man.
That's right. Yeah. There's two versions of number one. One of them actually has God is Red on it, and the other one they published without God is Red on it.
Which is more rare?
The one without God is Red is kind of a misprint other version. And Buzz was the one that actually jumped on him and told him, hey, what kind of assholes are you? You didn't put it on there. And they were like, well, who's this guy Buzz? And I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you go ask him? And they never had the balls to say anything to Buzz in person. So, they left him alone.
Buzz, one of my favorite prints I bought from you back in the day is your Invaders print. It is so beautiful. And I probably had it on my radio studio walls and stuff. And one of those guys that, wasn't the biggest fan of me from a broadcast standpoint. I had all these, as you know, I mean, you go to conventions and everyone's got posters and free prints and things like that. Right. So I put a bunch of them on my studio walls. And this jerk is like, this cartooning stuff, it's not going to distract you. I'm like, what am I, 3 years old?
Yeah.
You don't think I can do my job? I'm like, this is for people who walk in and look and go, oh, this is interesting stuff. Yeah. And I mean, again, putts. That's all right. He got fired. He got fired before me. So
Buzz when I wanted to get in the comic industry, Buzz was he wasn't even, he was like a force of nature. I mean, Buzz was like, I swear to you, he was like the Jim Thorpe of comics. I mean, there was so much going on around this guy. I cannot even tell you. I mean, he, sight unseen, the first time I met him, he called me, hey, you guinea bastard. And he said, hey, you could crash with me at shows when I was 30 short of a quarter, John.
Sure.
And he had me come out to New York, and he introduced me to friends. He was working at Harris Comics at the time. It was Harris, I think, right? Yeah, and he was doing these amazing Vampirella covers, and
yeah.
Buzz walked into Marvel when he was like a teenager, and they offered him an X-Men book. I mean, that doesn't happen. He was like, it's like playing shortstop for the Yankees. So he had a tremendous part in when I was trying to get in the industry, and a tremendous part in Atomika. When you look at how slick the inking is, throughout most of it, throughout everything that he inked, it's tremendous. I mean, he brought to the book an instant, professional kind of a polish that I was really insecure about at the time.
Okay. Wayne earlier said that it's a shame DC should have picked up some of your Rorschachs you've done over the years. I want to show a couple images of Marvel stuff you did do. I'm sorry, that's blurry. That's a bunch of sketch cards that you did over the years, and it shows your style. And of course, if people follow you on Instagram or Facebook, they will, and Twitter as well, they'll see this. And also, I love that last year you did get a Marvel job, and you did Marvels, and it was a great. There's the Thing that you drew, and here's the rest of the FF. And it was
that was a short story that I did with Alex. Alex wrote it, and he's like, "Hey man, I got an opening, I got a space. Do you think you'd want to do it?" And I said, "Yeah. What am I going to say? No. I mean, but I have no delusions. I mean, Marvel was not going to tell Alex, hey, you can't use your friend." But I knew that, look, it had to look professional, and they weren't going to put it in there. So
sure.
I said, of course, Of course I'll do it. I mean, my God, what am I going to say? So I said, can I do it? And he goes, no, I want you to do that crazy style, that colors and the cross hatching and the markers and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So Alex was, instrumental in getting me my one and only Marvel job. And then ironically, there's a Rob Liefeld homage cover that is on it. So I thought that was kind of cool that Alex did an homage to a Liefeld piece for the cover. So,
Dennis is surprised you're on Instagram. Tell people how to follow you on the various social platforms.
I'm like a $2 whore, man. I mean, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Sal Abbinanti, Mercury Comics. I mean, I am guilty of, like, I'm the algorithm nightmare when it comes to posting and getting the word out for my stuff, where I just never feel that it's getting out there enough, because I'm still, my teeth itch from not doing trade shows for 2 years. I used to do all the shows. When I met Buzz, my God, we were doing sometimes 2-3 shows a month in those days. And I'm down to nothing. I haven't done a show in almost 2 years now. So that's why if I overdo it on Instagram, on social media, I may apologize, but
no such thing.
I'm just trying to, and I'm trying to get the word out, but I'm guilty of definitely 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag sometimes.
No, but honestly, I like the fact that you, with your marker style and your color style, will do these images, and they're very unique. And I mean, here again,
that's a bad one. The sketch card one, John, that's kind of a sucky one. But the sketch of the day stuff,
yeah,
that came from Buzz. Buzz started to tell everybody, or at least him and Chris Batista and Ray Lago and a bunch of us that were kind of tied in on Facebook at the time, that, hey guys, let's try to do a sketch a day, whatever it is, stream of consciousness, just pick a character, pick a thing. And at the time, my kids were little and they were just born, so I thought it was a great idea. And so I just started to do, because I had an advertising background. I worked at Leo Burnett. I was a storyboard artist at Burnett, where we used markers, and it had to be fast. You had to get it out. You just had to, you didn't really, So a lot of that came from that. So I started to do a sketch of the day. I haven't done them in a long time, but that came from Buzz, and that's where a lot of those sketches came from. And now I still do them when I'm sitting there watching a ball game or something. I like to keep my chops up. And
I'm hip. And here I'm gonna bring up one in a second. My computer's acting a bit slow, but this is a beautiful one that I think it kind of illustrates just your unique take on things. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, that's an old one. Yeah, that's.
I still love it, man.
That's wow. That's got to be that one's only about 15 years old. That one, so
that's outstanding. No, but again, it's
the Atomika one. Show the a couple of the Atomika pages, because that's kind of getting that's Darwin.
There we go.
And then that's but again, anybody that wants to see any of my stuff, they just go on Instagram or Twitter, or I post sketches every day. Also I post right now. Lately, it's been this Kickstarter campaign. It's all about this.
Yeah, you're busy.
Yeah, oh, no. But I still do stuff every day. I'm already kind of 30 pages into my next project, which I'm very excited about, and so I'm hoping to have that out by the tail end of the summer. So okay. I'll probably be nagging you again on Kickstarter in the fall. Next fall.
Sal, no problem. You know it. Whenever you're ready, I'm happy to do this. Look what Buzz says, and I agree. He was a big fan of your work even before Atomika. It has the explosive energy of Kirby and sense of design and approach of European masters like Droulet and Topi. Am I saying it right? Topi?
Yeah, Sergio Topi. Yeah, well, that's Buzz is being, Buzz has always been a tremendous, influence. And like I said, but there's really nobody, in my opinion. I always tell people, when you're going to a con and you see you go through Artist Alley. I mean, there's a lot of talent in Artist Alley, but there's Buzz and there's everybody else.
Sure.
In Artist Alley, and from the point of view of it, especially, I mean, I only knew him at the time when I met him. He was doing Vampirella, and he was doing these amazing. He was known as kind of the hot chick artist, but he so much more than that. I mean, so much of what I saw, he was doing Avengers. He was doing. He did me this amazing. Hang on, I got it right here. I could show it to you.
Sure, no problem. Hilarious.
This is gonna probably embarrass Buzz, but this is He did this
all
for
right.
me.
You can handle it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
This is a Dead Man piece he did for me. I don't know if. I think it's because he might have trashed the hotel room, and then I had to pay for the minibar bill, probably the minibar bill. So in exchange for the minibar bill, he said, "Hey man, name a character," and then he kind of hid for a couple of days, and then he handed me that. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
now Wayne here one more time. Stand by. There we go. There's the solo, and people can see. Yeah, Boston Brand. You can see his. Yeah, man. I agree with Dennis. It's a gorgeous piece.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, now Wayne is asking for next project. I don't know if We'll see. I think he screwed up the name of the project. He said Diego's in space.
It's Diego's on the moon. Yeah, and I don't know if it's gonna. It's something that I started about. God, back when I knew Buzz, back when Buzz was living here in Chicago one summer, we talked about it. It was like the hottest summer on record, and we were talking about it. And growing up in Chicago in a big Italian family, the Italian army or the Italians in World War II were always kind of the laughing stock. So this was an idea of a squadron of the Italian Air Force that gets lost and they wind up on the moon. And it's called Diego's on the Moon.
Diego's on the Moon. Yeah.
And I'm about 35 pages in.
Outstanding.
And I'm gonna I would say probably a quarter of the way done. I'm hoping to have it done and release it in the summer. I don't know if Kickstarter is gonna let me. I don't know if Diego's is a derogatory term anymore with the PC world now, but to me it never was. But I don't know. It could be.
No, I hear you, man. And again, maybe it still might be controversial. Who knows? Well, Diego's in space might be a way to go, or whatever. You give him a name, and you could just have,
to me, it was always a working title, and very cool. It's kind of written black humor, but the art style is kind of. I don't really have a choice. I can't draw like Little Lotta. It's got to be.
I don't want you to draw Little Lotta.
Right. It's got to be kind of the craziness that I'm.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Sal. Truly, again, and forgive me, Sal. I meant to have a lot more art as far as examples of what you do. But seriously, like this stuff lends itself to science fiction. So I can't wait to see. I mean, you've been telling me about Diego's on it.
Yeah,
for the 10 years plus that we've known each other.
I can show you why. I got it sitting right here. I don't want to deflect too much from Atomika. But,
I understand. No.
I just finished. It's almost done. This is a double-page spread of the pilots.
That's great. Wow.
So up, down. I don't know where.
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. No, that looks amazing, Sal. That's what I mean, man. You shit on your own style, and the reality is it's like, no, it's distinct. And it's exciting. And again, I do think that the last 20 years have kind of expanded a lot of general readers' perception of what is good art, and that it doesn't have to be Kurt Swan perfect or or Kirby.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about, John, is that you finally reach a point, especially as an artist, where you're like, look, man, this is who I am. This is what I do. I wanted to have those growing up. I wanted that slick, perfect draftsman, brush line, the Neil Adams line, that Buzz has, where it's that perfect feathering, it's that perfect cross hatching, which is why I was always a huge fan of a lot of even the Filipino artists in Marvel in the 70s, the Alex Ninos and the Tony DeZunigas and the Ernie Chans, where they did this, but the Neil Adams stuff, especially the stuff he was doing at Continuity. I mean, that was like church, you know.
Yes.
But I was more, but yet I was more of the Kirby guy, where I thought, hey, it's a product of your imagination. I'm not that draftsman. I can't draft like Buzz. I can't have those perfect lines. I mean, Buzz did a pinup for me, an oversized pinup that's in a book of Atomika, where it's this, you know, it's this incredible cross hatching. It's this amazing line work. I can't. I've tried it. I like to cross hatch, and I like to do that way, you know, that traditional inking style. Can't do it. Doesn't work out, because at the end you wind up going back to your kind of, your subconscious takes over of where you're, you know, how you're going to draw it, and what comes out of your mouth changes. So this is, you know, you are who you are, you know.
Yes.
And at a certain age you just go, you know, I mean,
This is you. Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing that I picked up working with Sienkiewicz, was that it's like, it's okay if Bill drew the Joker 10 times, the Joker looked different every time. And it should be kind of a product of your imagination and a stream of consciousness. And it's all right, because, you know, sometimes you see it in your head a certain way, and then you go to put it down and it doesn't turn out the way you saw it. But that's okay too, because it's just kind of like, it is what it is. And but yeah, at my age, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I mean, this is what I do, and it's fine. You know, I'm not out with my hat in my hand going to editors anymore, going, "Hey guys, you know, you think you'll let me draw a Gambit?" You know, I'm too old for that shit, John. You know, I stood in all those lines. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, but again, this is me. This is what I do. It's fine if you don't like it.
Tim Bradstreet was the one that really kind of sat me down and read me the riot act of the reality of what was going on. I was in a portfolio line in New York at a show, and I got in practically a fist fight with one of the editors at DC at the time. I won't mention his name.
Wow.
And he was, you know, and I think, you know, it was one of those deals where I ran into Tim Bradstreet because he kind of saw what happened, and he pulls me aside and he goes, "Let me see your portfolio." So I show him in my stuff, and he looks at it and he stops and he goes, "Sal, do you really think they're going to let you draw Luke Cage? I mean, have you lost your mind? I mean, look at what you're doing and look at what they sell." And so you need to find a harsh reality of like, okay, if I want to work in industry A, what the hell does the work look like in industry A? And if it doesn't look like that, then maybe you need to go over here and open a gyros joint, because you can't.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with a gyros joint. It's just, it's like you're not a steakhouse. You're not a hot dog stand. You're a gyros joint. So I'm cool being a gyros joint. You know, as long as you got a good yogurt sauce and souvlaki plate, John, you know, there's nothing wrong with it.
You get it.
Gyros joint.
Absolutely. You get it, man. Here, another great comment from Buzz. The perception of comic art from the reader's eye has been expanded with infusions of art from all over the globe. New readers are hip to many diverse styles. Atomika's return is very welcome. Amen, Buzz. I'm so with you. And again, you know, it's like another good friend of ours, Franco. And a lot of Franco's paintings that he sells at Artist Alley and stuff are much more expressionist than the Tiny Titan stuff that he does with Art Baltazar. And yeah, I mean, it's okay.
It's art. Again, I mean, at the end of the day, it's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, art is, you know, you got to remember that once you want to be an artist and once you want to get out there, you have to, you know, you're going to get criticism. You're going to get people that are going to like it and dislike it. And that's okay, you know, but at the end of the day, you gotta learn to deflect all that bullshit out, because if you don't, when you sit down to draw, it gets in your head. And if anything gets in your head outside of what you're trying to do, then, you know, but you also got to remember, look, the fan bases, you know, there's a certain brand loyalty there. If they like they like Jim Lee, or they like a certain guy, that's what they're going to go for.
Of course, but again, as you know, Buzz and Peter Palmiotti are pointing out, that's only a portion of the audience. And yeah, you're not going to convert those guys. Right. But truly, I really think everything that's happened in the last really 30 years, but even more so concentrated in the last 20 years, there's a lot of people that their minds are opening to different art styles. And it's like, no, this is interesting. I want this. This is good. And hey, God bless Jim Lee. God bless all the mainstream guys. that
fine.
make their, 6 and 7 figures every year. That's fine. But again, real artists and stuff, it's like you got to listen to your muse and you got to just trust your instincts. And I, like I said, I do the same thing with the BS that I do. So,
you don't have a choice, John. I mean,
right.
I think when you make the decision to do something creative, that's it, man. I mean, you're going to have to, you don't really have a choice to be an artist. I mean, it kind of chooses you.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
It's one of those things. I mean, it took me a while because I really, really tried to draw like the house style. And at the end, it always went back. It always went back to the old, it was like a broken catcher's mitt. And I was just like, and then finally you just go, you know what, this is what it is. I'm not going to, I'm fine. I'm cool. But, when you're younger, you're trying to find your way. You're trying to develop your style. Look at John Romita Jr., nicest guy in the world. And yet if you look at his early work, he drew a lot like his father. Yet you looked at his departure right when he hit Daredevil and he was doing that Iron Man, when he was drawing Iron Man, and you could see that his style was, he was cultivating his own style. And then finally he doesn't draw anything like his father. And
100%.
Stuff now.
Or when Sienkiewicz was doing New Mutants, and I remember reading Amazing Heroes in the mailbag, and it's like, who is this guy? I don't like this. And it's like, idiots.
And when he was doing Moon Knight, they were comparing him to Neil Adams. They said, "Oh, he's Marvel's Neil Adams," and he got really offended by it. And that's what pushed Bill to kind of want to go off and do his own style. And he was ready to do it when it happened, and then they pushed back against it.
Sure,
he wanted to do Elektra Assassin painted and Daredevil painted, but he's like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing now."
Absolutely, man. No, and it was very. Again, all I can say is as a reader, and I was just out of college, going to the direct markets consistently for the first time. To me, it was exciting because again, Kurt Swan is one of my art gods, and really that beautiful, clean Superman line that he did for decades. I mean, honestly, I kind of get angry at people that do appreciate the more wild, impressionistic art, like yourself. And there's a podcaster out there that's like, "Oh, Kurt Swan sucks." I'm like, "You're an idiot." No, he doesn't suck. He's just different. And again, thank God for the difference. And there's room for both in my mind and in most people's minds. And certainly I think as readers get older, their minds broaden and they appreciate the different styles.
Yeah, I mean, you find that they all bring something unique. I love everything from Bruce Timm, his marker, stuff to Gil Kane and Gene Colan. And John Buscema was my hero. Oh God, Neil Adams he's like a pillar. I mean, he's one of the, he's on Mount Rushmore, Neil Adams.
Agreed.
Of the industry. But for me, it was Kirby but you couldn't draw like Kirby because nobody drew like Kirby. But yet with Kirby, like I said, you learned so much from Kirby just from. It should be, if he drew a toaster, it was 2 pages long. It was like, and so you learn it. It's like product, it should be a product of your imagination and and everybody's got a different imagination. A lot of guys have that slick, clean, line in that illustration approach. And that's terrific if that's who you are. But then what I learned from Sienkiewicz was that it's like, hey, there's no one way, man. Everybody's going to do it differently. And if you're not finding who you are, then you're going to be miserable. When you sit down and draw, because I did that all day in advertising. You draw storyboards all day, man. And at the end of the day, it's like, really, the old lady and it's black and white and then she eats the cereal and then it becomes color. I mean, that same idea I've seen go across the board about 1,000 times. So you just finally go, okay,
I'm with you, man. Again, you got 3 weeks as of this recording for the Atomika God is Red Omnibus campaign.
It's really I gotta say, I have to thank these guys in Serbia. I want to say it was I don't want to mispronounce the company. It was a Serbian company that did it. This guy Vlad, who was really cool, and they offered to print it in Serbia and Eastern Europe.
Wow.
Darkwood was the publisher.
Here, I'm going to hold you up, Sal. Hang on. All right, put it up there.
Yeah,
Your solo.
Darkwood was the company in Eastern Europe that did it, and they did like I said, it's over 300.
I was gonna
All
say,
the,
show it on the side to show people how thick this book is.
oh
too.
yeah, I mean it's all the
Yeah.
pinups and all the art and all the every all the all 12 issues, all the covers, all the extra artwork, all the stuff that Buzz did, all the stuff that all the stuff that didn't make the cut is in here. And like I said, it's over 300 pages. And the initial one, and then like I said, we've got a million different stretch goals. I wasn't the biggest, Kickstarter guy when I started this, with the hostage. But then I realized when you do Kickstarter, you've got to give all those extras. The comic industry, the supporters, they love all that stuff. So I was like, really? But once I did it with the hostage, the stickers and the prints and the lithos and all, I'm like, and the bookmarks and the postcards, and I do, I kind of do one of a kind little postcards, hand painted postcards. I'm also doing 11 by 17 original art included as one of the package, and I love doing it because everybody's like, oh, Sal, don't promise art because you're gonna sell and they're gonna want you to draw. You're going to be drawing 20 commissions. And I'm like, so? I mean, it's like, I do those things standing on my head. If someone buys your book and somebody, is willing to stick their neck out, because Kickstarter's changed a lot in the last few years, because a lot of people have kind of gone on some dead ends with Kickstarter. I'm happy to draw these postcards and these commissions. It's like, it's cool. Why are you in the business if you don't want to do that stuff?
I so agree, buddy. And Wayne knows that you do amazing commissions and also points out some of the best storytellers came from non-DC and Marvel traditional books like Ostrander and Tim Truman's Grimjack or Truman Scout, Jenkins' American Flag, Mike Grell doing John Sable, Baron and Rude doing Nexus, etc. Absolutely. And Buzz says, I don't give credence to anyone who reacts to art by simplifying it as saying it sucks. They lack the knowledge to understand it, the intelligence to form a real cogent response. Yeah, Buzz. And again, you got your Wednesday Warriors. They want the house style.
That's cool.
Okay,
that's okay. I mean,
yeah.
The only thing that in the same way the comic industry's evolved with the movies and the TV shows and everything else, I'm fine with it. I just wish more people would buy comics, and that's the problem I have with conventions. The only problem I have with cosplay and all the signatures and everything else now is that, when people brag, Emerald or whoever, whatever the show is, Mile High or Emerald or New York, and they brag, we had 165,000. Yeah. My first question is always, do you buy any comics? Because if you're there to get Tootie's autograph from the Facts of Life, that's fine. But go to Artist Alley and buy some art, man. Buy some comics, because it's like the industry needs that. And it's cool to have all that other stuff, the wrestler or, the guy that, Susie Underall from Caddyshack is there signing.
From Caddyshack,
Buzz got me Cyrus's, autograph from the Warriors. That's fine. That's cool, man. The guy from, Maury Amsterdam is there, or, whatever. Buy some comics, man, when you go to cons, I mean, because the industry, look, man, it should be about the artists. It should be about the comic. It should be about buy a damn comic when you go to a con.
Well, that's why I'm very happy to have been associated with Baltimore Comic Con the last 2 years, both online last year, this year, a physical show. And they are in fact, when we were doing the online show, we're like, hey, we can get these celebrities, whatever. And they're like, it's a pure comic book show. And they're like, it's okay to get a couple of these celebrities. They got to be adjacent to some sort of comic book property. And that's why it made sense for me to talk to Joe Henderson of Lucifer, coming from the Vertigo book, things like that. And no, I can tell you the last 2 shows that I've done physically, Terrificon in Connecticut and Baltimore, both of them have been great. And the response to the artists have been great. The dealers seem to be doing well. The artists and Artist Alley seem to be doing well. So I do think as people get comfortable going to physical shows again, I do think a lot of the pure comic book people are going to be among those first, wave people, like no, I missed this. I want to see people. I got my sketches and stuff. Here, Wayne says Baltimore and Heroes are the last of the great comic book shows. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Absolutely, man. And Wayne's a convention warrior too.
Yeah, he's a troublemaker, Wayne.
Well, and we're teasing because for a while, poor Kim Fields, Tootie, she did get a little heavy. God bless her, man. She got smart and trimmed down again. So she was big, but no longer. So yeah, Buzz, don't worry. Tootie's not as big as she used to be physically.
Tootie and I mean, God, the gal from Saturday Night Fever. I mean, they're all there.
Donna Pescow?
Which is fine. No, the one that played the love interest. I can't.
Oh, sure.
She's there, and look, that stuff is fine. And I think the comic industry, I think the cons will be back. I have no doubt they'll be back because we want it to come back, and I think
yes,
but it's going to take some time. I don't think it's going to really be back and fold until next year. Till 22. I'm planning on 22 as a regular year. I mean, I'll be back at San Diego. I'll be back at New York. I'll be doing all that. I mean, I don't know about, like I said, the next few. I mean, I'll C2E2. I'll definitely go and see some people and do the dinners and go out for some drinks and that. But I agree with you. I think there's still going to be some hesitancy and some reluctance. But my daughter got her shot yesterday, so I'm very excited.
Hey, awesome.
The kids are getting their shots, and that'll be a huge step in the right direction. And but we'll be back. It'll be fine.
Oh, I hear you, man. C2E2 is only about 30 days away.
That's right.
I'll let everybody know right now. I got confirmation. I'm only doing one panel, but I'm so glad it's Svengoolie. And I love doing it.
He's the best.
Rich is fantastic. And it means so much to me that whenever he does a live panel in Chicago, he's like, hey, will John do it? And it's like, of course I will.
Rich is fantastic. I mean, Rich is a guy that I've gotten to know him over the years because he's good friends with Alex. And so we're talking, and I said, hey, Rich, you should do C2E2. So this is back when it started, and I told the C2E2 guys, I go, hey, man, they're like, hey, any local Chicago artists? And I said, yeah, of course, Gary Gianni and Jill Thompson and Hillary. And I gave them, the usual. Jeff Jarrell was in town at the time. And I said, yeah, there's guy. But I said, what about Rich Coase? And they're like, who? And I go, son of Svengoolie. They didn't, and they're like, you think so? I'm like, John, he was there, and he was like Elvis Presley at C2E2. He comes over to see me. I was in Artist Alley. He walks over in the makeup to see me in Artist Alley to thank me for getting him. John, it was like they were following him like the Pied Piper. And he came over just to say thank you. And I mean, he's the best. Rich is, if you have a chance when you're at the show and you see, son of Svengoolie, and you see him there, my God, he's a sweet guy. My
two favorite things about doing Svengoolie panels or interviewing Sven. First of all, the last panel we did, 2019, Dan DiDio's in the audience because he's a massive Svengoolie fan. And the fact that it's nationally syndicated. And the other thing is I got ready to do in 2015 my first video interview with them. And all of a sudden, Joel Hodgson from the original Mystery Science Theater 3000, he's like, hey, man, before you start videotaping, can I just tell him something? I'm like, absolutely. He shakes his hand and he goes, you obviously were a massive influence to what we do. And, they started as a small Minnesota Twin Cities show, just like Rich did and Jerry G. Bishop being in Chicago, just local horror hosts. And he's like, I got to tell you how many of my LA comedian friends adore you, including Jerry Seinfeld. And just over the years, especially recently, they've done so many great documentaries about horror hosts. And they'll go back to Vampira, and certainly Elvira will get her due. The three that always get their due are Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, Joe Bob Briggs, and Richard Svengoolie. And it's like, rightfully so, they're carrying on this amazing tradition. And it's such great homemade television. And I love it about them. And that's what's so great. And especially what Rich does. So I'm so excited to be doing this panel at C2E2. I don't have a date yet, but once I have it, we'll start promoting it and stuff.
I'm a little worried about C2E2 only because Chicago in December.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the thing, when you're here in December, man.
It is. You're right. High Station Zebra. Absolutely, man.
It's Siberia. And
You're right. You were so right about that.
Sal, come on. How cold can it be? I'm like, all right, you'll see.
Even the couple times they've done it in late March, it's like, hey, I don't know how to break it to you. It's still winter in Chicago in late March.
It's rough.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. No, and I mean, God bless the out-of-towners that show up. Thankfully, again, this is such a great local community that we pretty much can do. In fact, you remember when the Around Comics guys used to do their little show and would just kind of pull from the tri-state area.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, a lot of it was Scotty Young and Mike Norton and Tim Seeley and you and Joe Thompson and Azzarello and stuff. And Katie Cook coming from Michigan and people like that. But again, I mean, so we'll be all right regardless. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the rest of the programming looks like. And also the fact that, again, it's just everybody misses doing this. And it's C2E2 is a great show. And I'm glad they're back. But yeah, I have a feeling they chose this day because they wanted to get a show on the books for 2021.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with San Diego as well. They didn't want
to Thanksgiving show.
And I wish them well. Thanksgiving weekend, I just can't. I mean, it's like, my wife, I'll find my stuff. I'll find my back issues of Eternals on the back porch. If I, and I'll find my, my Devil Dinosaur on the front porch, thrown out there with the rest of my shit. If I travel on Thanksgiving weekend to go to a con. So
forget about it.
I'll be there, in full force this summer.
Yeah, next July. Absolutely, man. And I'll be there with you. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's wrap up again, everybody. Atomica, God is Red, the omnibus edition. It's got about 3 weeks left. Hold on. I was gonna bring up the image, but here I'll let you do it. Stand by.
Yeah, no,
right, do it again. Keep it up there.
Yeah, it's like I said, I don't know which way. It's the big Magilla, man. It's and like I said, you've got all this other stuff we're offering with the posters and the lithos and the postcards and bookmarks and pins, and there's an Atomica coin and
trading card
set, and there's a lot of really cool stuff that I've got to include because it's stuff that hasn't been seen before. The stuff from again Michael Turner and Glenn Fabry and Alex Ross and Sienkiewicz and
Bernie Shan,
Darwin Cook and Tim Bradstreet. And it goes on, and Simon Bisley did a great cover.
Wow.
Yeah, and Mark Texiera did a great one. Steve Rude did one. Ernie Chan did two. Tony DeZuniga. I mean, it was like Gene Colan did an amazing one. John Romita Sr. did one for me. Wow. That's in there. That's the cover of the Ash Can, and Eric Powell. And Claudio Castellini, and Lucio Perillo and Simone Bianchi and it's like it's really, really a lot of great guys. And Buzz did the great alternate cover for me for number 4 with Michael Turner, and it's great. I was so fortunate to have these guys, and it's all included in the package.
Absolutely. Hey, Peter Palmiotti and Buzz, I really appreciate you guys watching. Hit me up on Facebook because I really should. I would love to have both of you on a word balloon eventually.
Yeah, you gotta have those. Yes, for sure. I can't believe Buzz. He's been on before, right? Or he hasn't been on in a while.
Buzz has never been on. He's been on.
Buzz is, but you gotta force him to send you some images of his stuff ahead of time so you can. You really want to showcase his work as well. He's a funny guy to have on, and he'll be a really interesting interview. But
great
story. You got to see his work. I mean, tremendous.
100%. No, and Sal, I apologize. I meant to have more images up for our talk.
It's all right. No,
I hope I had enough with you.
I mean, it's. I'm grateful, man. Don't. It's not like
Bud, you've been an important backer of me from day one. And I'm
you do great work, John.
In any way.
I mean, it's not charity, man. You do great work. I mean, what you do is, you're like you're the cornerstone of the industry when it comes to this stuff. When it comes to keeping things relevant, keeping people relevant, keeping it, every creator from the most popular guys, from Let It Be to Sugar by the Archies. You got them both.
Absolutely, man. No, in fact. In a couple hours,
choose based on who's popular or who's
I don't do critiques, Sal. If I like it, I want to help. It's that basic. It is that. And in fact, tonight I'm talking to a great collaborator of Chip Zdarsky's, Canadian artist Jason Liu.
Sure.
Jason and I will be talking at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central tonight. And then you'll like this from a Chicago standpoint. Gabe Hardman, Jeff Parker, and I do our Kinescope show where we look at live television. And tonight it's all about Studs Terkel. And for a blip, because he got screwed, got labeled a communist, which was bullshit. He never denied being a socialist.
Yeah.
Just like today.
Yeah.
As far as idiots are concerned, it's the same thing. And it kind of ties into us talking about Atomika as well. But Studs had a great early 50s TV show that was on NBC.
Yeah, he did.
Also on ABC. It was called Studs Place. I describe it as a combination of Cheers and Curb Your Enthusiasm because all the dialogue was improvised. They had a page or a page and a half script, and they would just do the whole thing. And it's an amazing show. Win Stacky, this incredible folk artist from the 50s, was one of the main stars. And it's just got this very cool jazz kind of feel of the time. I mean, this is when folk was really at its most popular.
Right.
And the cast really came to play. And it's a lot of fun to talk about this. And we're going to have a very cool discussion. And I got to know Studs before he passed away.
Yeah, good guy.
He came to the score a couple times, my sports station.
He's a legend.
Total legend. And what an honor to speak to him, and an incredible broadcaster, one of my broadcast interview heroes. He was just brilliant. And this was just one of the things that he did among writing his oral history books and being such an impressive radio interviewer and television interviewer and interview subject. This guy saw it all. And it really, I mean, it really was an of the moment TV show, Studs Place. And there's only a handful that still exist, only like 4 or 5 episodes. Yeah, man, we're gonna talk. So
very cool.
Thanks, Buzz. I appreciate that, man. Absolutely. So Buzz, long time coming, having the talk. Same with Peter Palmiotti. Thanks everybody for watching. Great questions and great conversation as always. We'll talk. You'll be seeing the Atomika commercial on coming word balloons as well to help Sal promote these last 3 weeks.
Well, thank you.
So,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Until then, stay